We're on. Good afternoon, welcome to Coastside Fire Protection District Board of Directors, our regular board meeting on April 24, 2024. Roll call, please, Jean.
Director Cockrell.
Here.
Director Hannah.
Here.
Director McKinney.
Here.
Director Sherrill. Here. President Burke.
Here. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll now open the meeting to public comment, and I believe we have at least one gentleman who would like to speak to the board. If you'd like to, sir, you can use the podium. Okay? And please identify yourself.
Get my cheaters out, so I can read.
Oh, man, I'm with you.
Between that and the amplifiers, I get by. My name is Larry Von Dran. That's VON space capital DRAN. And I own the parcel 047182360. I've had that property now for over 35 years. And I never developed it, but early on, I had an arrangement with the Coastal Commission that my property is one of the few points, I think maybe only access to the open space up behind the homes there on Okanagan Boulevard. And so what we had was a reciprocal agreement that they would have unlimited access to my property to control that for fire, landscaping, whatever they had to do, and they've done that many times. In return for their clearing my lot of weeds when that period of time came. So I was hoping that this commission or committee would have a similar authority to do so. Because I'm worried about my liability for one. I just put an additional carrier on the property for liability. Neighbor has 2 lots below me for sale. And you can't walk up those lots, too steep, so they walk up my property. And if they were slip and fall, I bear that burden. So while it's posted, no trespassing, as well as I've asked the realtor not to go up there and encourage anything in that direction. What I'm looking for though, is this agreement. If I don't get that, in order to limit my exposure, I'm probably gonna come up with a tractor and fill in that loop, where there'll be no access. But I know that if my lot needs to be cut, the overgrowth for weeds, the weed abatement, well, what about the property in behind, immediate behind me? There's a widespread area. It's all grassy right now. It's probably about a foot deep. And I don't know if that, I'm clearing my land, but the land immediately adjacent to me is still going to remain to be a fire hazard if it isn't cleared. As well as even driving through town a couple of weeks ago, I was stayed in town. And the lots and the medians all throughout Okanagan are all overgrown. So it almost seems like the individual owners of lots, parcels that are undeveloped are being singled out for this as opposed to homeowners themselves, because there are plenty of homeowners out there that don't maintain their property and let it grow over. So my big concern is, why me, why those of us who fit this category. But like I say, my complaints would be silenced if we could come to some agreement about using my property for access in return for cutting the grass annually or as required. That was my position and why I came in.
Thank you for your comments. As we mentioned before, both the chief and the fire marshal will check and take a look at what you described and get back to you with an answer to some of your points. I have a quick question though. What's the Coastal Commission used to do what you described? Why
Yes.
are they doing it now?
I think it was handed over to a different organization. It's probably 10, 15 years ago.
Okay, okay,
Like I said, I've had it for 35 years and gone through a lot of this.
okay.
Also, the only thing I would request, in addition, if there is a list of people who have cleared the land here for different owners, not to single out any, let's call them gardeners, who would clear the weeds that I could hire, because it's extremely expensive to get somebody to come down from Wylie down to San Jose to come up here and do that clearing. So if you say have half a dozen or so names without endorsing anybody, at least people I could contact and develop my own confidence whether they could do the task at a reasonable price.
Okay. Chief, are we ready to, we can answer this offline?
Yeah, we can speak with them, and I know that, I believe on the side of us doing a lead forum is obviously not an option for the district, but, I think speaking to them about sending them the contractors and other stuff, we can definitely talk to them about that.
We'll be back in touch. Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
All right. Did you like to speak also? Yeah, please, certainly.
My name is Clay Collins. I have, I guess some similar concerns, and maybe as a starter, some feedback on the letter I received. The notice destroy weeds. In the past, when like CAL FIRE, they'll provide pictures or criteria of what's expected. There's no statement of what's expected on this letter. If I go back to the resolution or whatever from January or whatever it references, there's no definitions or criteria or anything contained in that. It references the health and safety standards, which identifies what weeds are. So I just as I say, some feedback there. It's unhelpful, I guess, the letter. So my question is, I mean, this is a 4.5 acre parcel. Is the expectation that it's completely cleared? Or is it similar to Caltrans, where a 6-foot buffer along the edge of the road? I don't know what the expectation of this is. So, then I have a couple other, I guess, concerns. So I've unlike the prior gentleman who've only owned it a few years, 3 or 4 years, I've spent roughly $8,000 to $10,000 each year clearing portions that was overgrown at 12, 15 feet high with cotoneaster and other odd stuff. And I've been making incremental procedures, so I guess my question is, had I not cleared that, is it not a weed? It is really confusing as far as, like I said, what's expected and what sort of clearance there is. And then, the other gentleman brought up, one of the concerns is, there are structures on the adjacent properties that are more overgrown than my own that aren't obviously subject to this. And so I guess that's my question, so, like I say, as feedback, this is unhelpful. I don't know what the intent of the letter is. Unless the intent is that the whole 4.5 acres get cleared. So,
Okay.
And then, the other, I guess the other piece of feedback would be the short window of time that's given, creates an artificial scarcity of, okay, so if I go trying to hire someone in the next 2 weeks to meet the deadline, along with everyone else that may have been on the list. And then the last piece of feedback is when I referenced the January resolution, my parcel doesn't actually appear on the pages of listed properties, but I got a letter. So I don't know if it was just incomplete, the resolution that was uploaded to the site, or
Where's your property located?
it's off of Grant Road, Valverde, back there.
Sir, would you mind, before you do leave, would you mind, pairing up with Captain Moda over here, maybe give him your exact address number so we can make sure we capture that and rectify that APN.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, like I say, it fits kind of description criteria as far as an undeveloped parcel. Just not clear what you're looking for. So, so for myself or for others in the future, it'd be helpful to.
Sure. We will respond to the chief, and Mr. Voda will certainly.
So I can address that for the good of anyone watching and for those in the room and yourself. The standard is actually, and doesn't say so in the letter, and that's probably something we should include in the future. Our standard is under what we call standards page of the fire marshal's website of Coastside Fire Protection District. Go to Coastside Fire Protection District, Office of Fire Marshal, standards, And there's a tab for weed and rubbish abatement program, and it's very clearly spelled out there. I'll be happy to share it with you once we go offline from here. I'll show you that, but for anybody watching at home or in attendance, that's where we keep the standard for what we're looking for.
Okay, yeah, I-
We'll get back to you, the 11 to answer to your question.
okay,
Okay, thank you. Yes, please. Recognize this gentleman.
Good afternoon, my name is Matthew Clark. We live in the 200 block of Alma Street in El Granada. And we also own the undeveloped 6,000 square foot lot that's directly behind our house. And it fronts on the Alameda. It doesn't have an address, but the parcel number is 047-127-430. And it is an undeveloped lot that has fruit trees on it and no structures. And it, basically, I want to ask that I be able to take care of it on my own schedule, because it does grow, tall grass, and we do mow it. The huge majority of the parcel is green all year because of the way the water flows. We have shallow soil, you know, the rain hits that decomposing Montara Mountain granite underneath, and it goes with gravity across the parcel, and the grass grows and stays green all year. And on either side, at the street frontage, they're both driveways. So I don't think there's any fire danger here. The only place that dries out is between the fence. There's no sidewalk between the fence and the street, and we do mow that toward the end of usually June, when the plants, the grass there does turn golden. And but beyond that, I just don't see that there's any fire danger involved. And as I said, we do maintain the lot because otherwise it grows all year. So I have to have it mowed at least 4 times a year. But having to do it in May, by the middle of May every year, isn't really convenient, because I just had it mowed 2 weeks ago, and by the middle of May, it will be probably mowable again, but I'd like to be able to make that decision myself. So I want to ask what do I have to do to stop getting these letters?
Well, look, similar to the point that we made previously, that the chief, the fire marshal will directly be contacting you and answer the questions, come to a conclusion. Okay, they talk to you directly,
Okay,
okay?
yeah,
Okay, and we do have your name and location. Okay, make sure we have that. But we'll be in touch and answer your questions and hopefully have an answer.
Can I just give you my phone number now?
You may, or it's gonna go out over the internet if you're okay with that.
You could talk to Jordan on the side.
Anybody can find anything on the internet.
That's true.
My number.
Why don't you just write it down?
Okay. Is there any other members of public who'd like to speak?
I'm on Zoom. Do you want to take the person on Zoom?
Would you like?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead and speak, please.
Oh, good. I wasn't sure if you acknowledged me. I'm calling about the Seal Cove lots. Last time I attended your meeting, you forgot to include Moss Beach and Montara APN numbers on your list, which is probably why that customer from Grant Road didn't get his notice or didn't see it attached on his letter. But I didn't get a letter for myself, but I often go over to Pillar Ridge and pick up the mail for somebody that I sold a vacant lot to in Seal Cove, and she got the notice. But since she's been living in France for the last 10 years or something, she failed to pay her property taxes. She also didn't mow for many years, but last September, I think, it changed hands to a new owner. So I don't know, I guess maybe you still have her down as the property owner, but she's living in France and definitely not going to be mowing. But the county probably sold her lot as a tax default. And that APN number is 037-285-010. Her last name is Ferrari, but I'm not sure the new owner's name. And that one, you might have to just check with the county before putting a lien on it. I'm sure the other person who now owns it didn't get a notice because it went to her. So, and then I was worried that my lot, I have 2 lots, and one of them is half vacant and the other one is a small vacant lot, which I haven't mowed yet, but I had a guy come and mow today on the APN 037-283-280, which is combined with my house lot. And that one just got mowed today, but the other one, I have goats coming at the end of this week, and I left it tall so they could have something to chew on. So I don't know what the ultimate deadline is, but I didn't see my name on the list that came out today. But like I said, last month, you didn't have any Moss Beach or Montera APN numbers on there. So I just want to let you know, because the guy who was mowing for me said he saw the fire truck guy out here today. So I said, well, they could be doing a inspection because there's a couple new, homes going up in Seal Cove. But anyway, I told him I had to get it mowed soon. Anyway, thank you. That's all I wanted to say. And he's only $25 an hour. Talk to you later.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Anybody else, public would like to speak? All right, we'll move on to continuing business. Let me for the board, let me mention a brief conversation I had with Chief Cox. The bottom line is that I'm gonna ask that at a subsequent meeting that we, the board, have an opportunity to really go through the whole policy of redevelopment. I was somewhat surprised after being here for a period of time that it wasn't mandatory, and we are somewhat unique in the way that we're doing it. And our geography is somewhat unique, and maybe it's appropriate, but in terms of the value and the efficiency of the program and how it's done, I think it's appropriate for the board to have a discussion. It will not affect this year, this current activity we have going on. It would happen for the future and next year. I think it's time for the board to take a good look at what and how and if we should do it. Okay. Anything else on that? All right. Moving on to continued business, review, discuss, and provide direction on reviewing pending legislation. Says Chief Cox. I don't know.
Oh, you need to
Chief
do the
or,
consent calendar?
I'm sorry?
You'll need to do the consent calendar first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. Okay, I'm sorry. I missed it. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? Note that Director McKinney has to be recused. So moved. Second. Any comments? Roll call, please, Jean.
Director Cockrell?
Yes.
Director Hannah?
Yes.
Director McKinney?
Abstain.
Thank you. Director Cheryl? Yes. President Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0, 1 recusal. Director McKinney?
Now moving on, continue business, review and discuss, provide direction on reviewing pending legislation. Chief Cox, the chief, are you?
Very happy to
Jean,
pass
please.
it.
Yeah.
You began your discussion on this last meeting, and this came about as a direction of staff to come up with some options for you to consider in meeting requests to either support or oppose pending legislation. And in the last staff report, we gave you several options, and one would be to just have a standard agenda item on each month. And if there's something that should go under that item, staff would prepare a report. Otherwise, we indicate there's nothing pending that needs attention. But that doesn't address what happens if we get really short notice on pending legislation. And so for that, we had indicated that you could establish an ad hoc subcommittee of the board, or you could delegate that authority to the chief. If you were to do either one of those things, you would need to give very clear direction on what sort of bills you'd like to take positions on, what organizations you would want to listen to when they give you a recommendation. For example, the Special Districts Association, the California League of Cities. And then the final one, which I think I sensed at the last meeting, you all thought was not necessary, would be to just for us to call special meetings if there were ever those situations. So at the end of your discussion, you asked to have some time to think about it, and so it's back on the agenda this evening in case you wish to take some action. Thank you.
Let me add a couple of comments and make a suggestion to do. So this is not an action item today on the board to do it. But what concerned me was that getting requests at the last minute from the California Special District Association and others to take a position on something the board wasn't meeting. Felt that it was just awkward, but yet on the same time, there was things that were important to us that probably should be. I think I mentioned last meeting, I noticed that there was a particular issue that a number of other fire districts had taken position on a piece of legislation that would affect us as well. We did not because of the scheduling problem to do it. We belong to the California Special District Association. They've been very helpful. They ask us for assistance. In fact, as a member, we pay, I think it's like $12,000 on membership and get all kinds of information on pending legislation, but yet when they request us to respond and contact people, we're not able to do it simply because of our schedule. I appreciate the comments that Jean has made in terms of how we do it. I'd like to add a couple of other points and then please ask you to join in, but I would say that if we had put together, and I'll use the word advisory, a policy to do it, that policy should say that we would take a position only on things that directly affect either our finances or our operations. And that is, if we get positions to or request to support a candidate, for example, that would be something we would not do. It has to be directly to be able to have some impact on us that we would be able to go forward. As I said, no positions on candidates or political kinds of items that would happen along that. I would say that time permitting, if we have requests or we would like to support a thing, that it comes on our board agenda, similar to what our material here says, option A, I think it's option A, that we would put on the agenda and have a chance to discuss it and do it. Those would be the easy. Unfortunately, that's not the maximum of times that we get requested to do it. But if we have the time, we would do it as a board and do it. On time sensitive things, which is really the ones that we do not have a board meeting and quite honestly, trying to pull together a special meeting for some of these things, which are really almost boilerplate. But you have to have the fact that we took a position and we joined the other groups either in position or opposition to do it. In those cases, I would suggest for your consideration that we do have an ad hoc committee. And that ad hoc committee would be the president, whoever that president is, because most of the requests come to the address. And the ad hoc committee would also include the board member who represents us, the California Special District Association, and currently that's Patrick. And that would be the ad hoc committee. And again, the bottom line is that, and by the way, there's not dozens of these things. There's a lot of things that frankly, you just throw away, you don't even look at them. But there are others, again, that it's our interest to take a position on and do it. Particularly, I think this year, because I think we've all read a lot of things going on in Sacramento with taxes and everything else that I'm sure that there will be things. ERAP is another item that is, I suspect will be on the agenda. So it would be appropriate now to have this be done. But again, just the ad hoc committee to deal with those things that are time sensitive is going to bring back the board. And I would, after we get other input from the board members, just ask that format be brought back in a draft form for full consideration and possibly a vote at the next meeting. Other comments? Okay, Patrick?
My only concerns, which I think you've addressed mostly, would be, opening up the floodgates to things that were not related to, like you said, finance or our direct involvement, fire service related. I'm sure the majority of the requests
being that they may be not that many per year, right?
Yeah.
Maybe less than 10 or whatever they are. And the majority would be coming from the Special District Association saying, hey, we would like your support.
Yeah.
So they've done their homework, we would review it and then make a decision based on that information. So I'm assuming that it would be very minimal impact on our time.
I think so.
I mean, I think that it's beneficial for us, the district and the board to support things that we would agree with, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to see it, causing undue amount of time spent on something that maybe not really that effective. So I don't have too many other concerns with that for the address. Obviously, you don't want this to be political or candidates, as you said as well, so.
Well, I just asked that we'll have a draft or suggested thing next month and think about it and anything to see if there's any changes or anything what we do. But I'd like to be able to take a position to take action as appropriate. Because I think particularly this fall, there may be a number of things that might be in high interest to be associated with it. Okay, all right. Nothing else?
Thank you.
Okay. Continuing business, item B, review and discuss, provide direction on Station 41 Salt Lot improvement. Again, Chief Fox.
So Sean is on,
Oh.
and he has a presentation for us, so
Yeah.
hopefully you can make that work.
All right.
Sean's gonna be speaking on that.
Great. Hi, everyone. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for that introduction. My name is Sean Rose, and I guess hi to everyone there and the honorable chair and board members in attendance. So my name is Sean Rose. I'm managing this South Lot Improvements Project that was the subject of your staff report. I've been retained by district staff to manage that project for the district as the owner's rep on the district's behalf. And tonight I want to give an update for you to the project and where we're at, and also discuss the discussions that I've had with the county planning and building department and public works department of the county regarding the sidewalk portion of the project. So with that, I will attempt to share my screen. Please let me know if you can see the presentation that I'm sharing.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to click on slideshow, and when I go from this slide to the next one, can you see it change?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, so you can see it going back and forth. Okay, good. So if there's any issues with that, if I'm talking and you're not seeing the slide, just let me know and I can share it in a different way. As I mentioned, I'll be talking about the Station 41 South Lot Improvements Project tonight. The status, again, I'm going to just walk through the status of the project. I'll begin just by giving, I know on February 28th, I was at the meeting and met you, and also Chief Cox and I talked about the project, and we shared the 90% design of the project at that meeting in the staff report. I know that's been provided, so I'll be brief here and I wanted to just take a step back though and review the main features of the current design. So the design is at 90 to 100% level, so we're very close to being final. The main features of the design are on the south lot specifically, and can you see the improvement plan on the screen now?
Yes.
Great, okay. So here's the overall improvement plan in plan view, showing some of these improvements. I'll just walk through them quickly. So we've got landscaping and irrigation, a drought tolerant, fire safe demonstration garden. And that's throughout the lot, both on the fire district property and within the county's public right of way, extending out to the proposed sidewalk, which runs around the perimeter of the south lot. And that's shown here with these lines. I want to stress that the dark shaded line there is not the lot line, that's the limit of work. So that's not to be confused with the lot line. I'll share the lot line and what that looks like a little bit later, where you can see what improvements are on fire district property and what improvements are in the public right of way. So again, all of this would be landscape and irrigation throughout. There would be as I mentioned, it's intended to be a demonstration garden in that there are interpreted signs as you walk up and down the pathway, talking about the drought tolerant plants and the fire safe design of the demonstration garden. The pathway itself will be decomposed granite material. It's called granitecrete, but very similar to decomposed granite. There'll be aluminum and timber edging provided along the pathway. Again, the pathway starts here at the top, up at Alhambra, meanders down to Obispo here, near where the sidewalk was built previously as part of the station project. There'll be interpretive signage, as I mentioned, as you're walking through the path. There's also a rock garden proposed here along this edge of the property. So this would be a rock garden, and my understanding is there'll be some signage and interpretive signage regarding that feature as well. The bench, there'll be a bench at the bottom with a memorial plaque. I know that's been discussed, and that's an important feature of the project. So there'll be a plaque there. There'll also be a welcome sign here on the corner facing outward for the community to see, in addition to the interpretive signage that I mentioned. I mentioned the sidewalk work. I saved that for last because I'll be focusing on that because I know that was some of the comments you had at the last meeting, and that I'll give an update on. But the sidewalk improvements as they currently are in the design are pretty much throughout the limits of work that you see here. So right around here, going all the way down to Obispo, where they would conform with the existing curb ramp that the district built back in 2019 as part of the station, the new station. This next slide just shows you a couple sections, A and B. You can see the sections here in the upper left in the key plan, and then you can see what those sections would look like when the project's built. So you can see that, up here on this top one, that's Alhambra. And as you're walking down, you meander along, and you've got these nature trail signs as you walk along the path. And you can see the defensible space planting as well. This slide just shows you some of what the plants that are proposed into the project, and won't go into detail here, but I wanted to just share some pictures of some of the native. These are all native and drought tolerant plants that are being provided. So the sidewalk discussion, I wanted to mention some of the discussions I've had. So as I mentioned, I've talked about the planning building department and the public works departments. All of them have said unanimously that they're very interested in the sidewalk improvements being a part of this project. There's a lot of reasons for that. One of the primary ones it was discussed at the last meeting, is the Connect the Coast Side plan. So that was adopted by the county's board in 2022. And this next slide, this is a a GIS system that shows countywide the Connect the Coast Side plan. And I'm just zooming in here on the area of this project. So again, here's the south lot. This yellow line represents in Connect the Coast Side where they see the sidewalk going. The district's already built a portion of this on Obispo with the station improvements. This project would build this leg and then up to about here. Along the district's frontage, however, they actually have the sidewalk going even further to Cabrillo. The reason it stops here, there's an existing sidewalk already there. So this would tie into what's already existing. In the intersections, these blue lines are just bikeways, so not really directly related to this project. The only other thing I wanted to mention is these at the intersections, these symbols are referred to intersection improvements. And I was able to talk to county about what that means. The only one that's really relevant, I think this project could involve this project, is this intersection where our project's sidewalk would stop. They had a crosswalk envisioned there and then a curb ramp on the other side. So that's all part of the Connect the Coast Side plan. I discussed with them that, this project has some sidewalk in it already. It doesn't do all of what's in the Connect the Coast Side along the district's frontage. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. There is a possibility of adding sidewalk scope to the project. And of course, we'll talk about who would pay for that and how to fund that work. But before we get to that, I just wanted to highlight what the existing scope and what that new scope would look like. So the existing scope I've already mentioned. The additional sidewalk scope would complete the adjacent connections on Alhambra and Obispo. So it's currently designed, there would be gaps left, both at the top and the bottom of this project. Both in terms of just for ADA path of travel in general, but also for what's envisioned in Connect the Coast Side. And that's shown, here's our existing scope. I've already talked about that. This is just a civil plan for what I've already showed you, sidewalk that is in the existing design. This exhibit shows what we could add to the project to complete those connections. So this red line represents from where the sidewalk improvements stop now all the way to Cabrillo where they would connect to existing over here. So this could be added to the project to complete that connection on top. Again, in the right of way, all this that I'm talking about will be in the county's public right of way, but along the district's property frontage. And then down here, those intersection improvements could be put in at Obispo and then a curb ramp over here. If that was done, then there's an existing sidewalk down here that would connect to. So again, we've got connections here and then over here, just on the other side of that corner where there's an existing sidewalk. Adding both of this sidewalk leg, this crosswalk improvement, this would just be striping, and then this curb ramp here would be the scope of the additional work that I'm referring to. The sidewalk at Obispo, I mentioned a crosswalk, that would be striped with yellow ladder, and that's because it's within the safe route to school zone of the Wilkinson School next door. I confirmed that with the county that this area is within a safe route to school zone. So it'd be appropriate and in fact required to mark that with a yellow paint, not white. And there'd be a ladder, high visibility yellow crosswalk there at that intersection. And then, of course, it would make connections on both sides. Okay, in terms of cost, the existing sidewalk scope that's in the project right now is 196 linear feet of sidewalk, curb, and gutter. And that includes one curb ramp being replaced up at the top. The cost of that is roughly $50,000. The additional sidewalk scope that I just described, and not the existing, the additional that would be added is roughly 65,000, so a little bit more. So the total, if both of those were added in, the full scope would be 115,000. I also put in here the cost of the project without any sidewalk, just so you can get an idea of the order of magnitude. So all the landscape improvements, the signage, the pathway, the rock garden, all of that is $200,000. And by the way, all of these are construction costs. They do not include any design costs. They're soft costs. The majority of the project, majority of the costs are construction costs, and that's what these are. So $200,000 with for the construction costs without any sidewalk. And so that I discussed that with the county. I presented them with these costs. They feel that there are a couple funding sources that they've identified that would be interested in helping pay for this. Most notably, if I could, sorry, I'm flipping around on the slide, but if I go back to here, there's an ADA commission at the county. They have a pot of funding. They've expressed interest in funding the project. There's a compliance committee that's under the commission that's meeting on May 2nd. There's a request that someone attend, and I'm happy to do so representing the county if you would like, or excuse me, representing the district. But at that meeting, the idea would be the project would be presented and there'd be a request for budget support provided to the county through the ADA compliance committee. If they agreed, they would forward a recommendation to the ADA commission and funds could be allocated to help pay for the project. It was mentioned last time, there's been some attempted communication with the supervisor Mueller. I think that's still a good idea and county staff thought so as well. Just in parallel to, if nothing else, to let him know what's happening and that, and open up that line of communication. But that's certainly something that could still occur in parallel if there's an interest in proceeding with the additional sidewalk scope and the funding request. In conclusion, I wanted to just share with you a couple more slides. This is the crosswalk, this is Obispo, looking down Obispo. Here's the sidewalk that the district already built. It goes down even further in front of the station. Here's where we would be tying in over here, the new sidewalk. There'd be, again, the ladder school crosswalk installed here, and there'd be a curb ramp put in right here to tie into that piece of existing sidewalk there. The schedule of the project. So here we are in April. We are pretty much at final design. The only thing outstanding is this additional sidewalk work. The design consultant is ready to go final and put together bid plans once we settle on the sidewalk improved scope of work. And so that would happen, hopefully with direction tonight, we can proceed with that and we would be done by the end of May. We can then submit for our county permits. There's 2 permits we need with 1 submittal. One is the coastal permit. We've been informed that this project would probably be exempt. And it would be an amendment to the existing coastal permit that the station has. So we don't think that's going to be a very involved permit. That goes to the county planning group. Then also, because this work is in the public right of way, we need an encroachment permit from the county. So those two permits get obtained. I'm giving 2 months for that. Once those are obtained, then we can bid the project. I would plan to bid the project in July. And the reason for that is so we want to be able to plant in the fall planting season. If we get too far out, we start having to push the project out to next year. The asterisk here is an important point. So what I would recommend we do is we bid the project out, assuming the sidewalk, assuming you don't want to just eliminate the sidewalk entirely and want to continue with that as a possibility pending the county paying for a portion of it. What I would recommend is we bid the project out as a base project without sidewalk. And then we have an alternate bid with the sidewalk work. That way we can bid the project out. We have the full right to reject the alternate bid if either we don't like the pricing or we don't get funding support from the county and the district decides not to move forward with the sidewalk improvements. It could be taken out of the project. Within that, without any additional cost, we can just bid it and get a price on it. And then we would come back to the board at that time to make a final decision on what we would award, whether it would be just the landscape improvements or the sidewalk in addition. So that would happen in July. We'd get through the award process in August, and then we'd start construction in September. Considerations are we're assuming the design continues in parallel. So I'm assuming again in April, May, we can keep going on the design and we're not going to stop. The permit timing, that's another variable. I'm accounting for 2 months because I think the county will expedite it for us, given our discussions with them. The bidding environment's always a variable. This is off bidding season. Most public construction bids are done earlier than this, but I think that's a minor consideration. I think we would be likely to get some good bids, but that's always a consideration, bidding in July, which is when most contractors are working, not bidding work. I already mentioned the fall planting season. Everything here is dependent on the fall planting season. If we move the project out, then we're looking at pushing it out to the next planting season. So in conclusion, my recommended next steps to the board tonight would be to approve the design amendment for the additional sidewalk work. It's a small amount. We've gotten a proposal. It's about $8,000 for that work. That would allow us to design in the additional sidewalk, put that out to bid, but again, there'd be no commitment to actually build that. And that would give us time to work with the county on the funding. We then complete the design, apply for permits ASAP. In parallel with that, we should pursue, I recommend we pursue the cost recovery for the sidewalk work with the county through the Disabilities Commission and the supervisor. We bid the project I've already mentioned, it's a base plus an alternate to give us the optionality there. We make a go, no go decision on the sidewalk work this summer. And then we proceed with construction of whatever alternative we decide to move forward with before the fall planting season. There are other alternatives the board could take. We could remove the sidewalk entirely from the project. We could remove just the additional, not consider the additional, and just do the existing sidewalk scope. That would leave the gaps there for others to build in the future, but that's another possibility. Or we could hold the design up entirely until waiting until the full resolution of the sidewalk funding from the county. So not a parallel path. We would just stop work and wait till that's all resolved with the county. If we take that option, we'd push it out to where we need to construct the project next year into the next planning season. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you. Sorry, I went a little bit over, but I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Would you leave that slide up there, the recommended next steps, please, and ask the board, or do you have any comments? No? Yes, Amy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. This was a very thorough and easily understood presentation with all the key elements identified. Thank you. One question I had is, does the schedule for the Connect the Coast Side project dovetail with the schedule we would like to have for the sidewalk completion on this project if we go ahead with the sidewalk option?
I think it definitely does. The Connect the Coast Side I'm clear on it now. I asked those questions early on when I was talking to them. It's really just a conceptual plan, and they don't have a specific schedule on any of the improvements that I showed you. There are a few projects within the overall program that are being conducted, outside of the program itself, like specific projects, like ours, for example, where there are actual projects being built. But the program itself was just a plan. They don't have, the Connect the Coastside program itself doesn't have a pot of money and a schedule and scope. So this is consistent with what they envisioned, but so in that sense, because they don't have another schedule, our schedule fits within their program. And certainly the scope of work that we're talking about is completely consistent with the Connect the Coastside plan. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. I had thought they did have funding based on the progress they've made with the connections that are running parallel to Highway 1. Is that not a part of Connect the Coastside?
Are you talking about the lot that's on the other side of Obispo?
No, the bike path
Oh,
along
I
with the
see. That's very possible. I don't know for sure. So I'm speaking more generally. I don't have that information. I could certainly get it for you, but what I was just referring more generally to the program that the program itself is a plan rather than a specific suite of funded projects. But they did mention there are projects that are going forward either by others or by the county capital improvement program. And I don't know what all of those projects are, but there are some projects throughout the coastside area that are moving forward. But the ones that I've discussed, at least the ones that that relate to our project that are along Alhambra and Obispo, though they don't have a schedule or any funding for those improvements. So they're hoping that this project will advance it with them partnering on the cost.
And we're coordinating, as you mentioned, with the school, the Wilkinson School and their plan for striping across that intersection, safety striping.
Yeah, they may have other plans. They have some striping right in front of the school, I think you probably know, and it's yellow striping for the school. I don't know all what they have there. Our project would just focus on the crossing at Obispo because it's within the Safe Route to School zone. And it is fully consistent with their Safe Route to School plan. So we just be building a little piece of their overall plan because in order to make the connection down to the sidewalk on the other side of Obispo.
Thank you.
Comments? First of all, I did meet with Supervisor Mueller last week and discuss this issue. And he, interpret his comments that he is certainly very supportive of doing it. His concern was that the priority of this project versus some other projects in the county. And when the county would get to that point of making a decision on this versus how many other projects they have. But he certainly was supportive of doing it. And just the timing of it would be when he would do it. Just to add, and this is redundant for the board, but what really caught my mind, I'm going to repeat it again, is going by there a month or so ago, and a lady was coming down from Alhambra, down there, pushing a child in a stroller. And it was muddy, the cars were coming down the street, she's walking down in the mud in very wet weather. I mean, it was in addition to the appearance of the thing, it's a safety issue. And that it is not like she's the only one there. There's a lot of people that come down there on their way to the beach and stroll and that type of thing. That really caught my attention to do it. That's enough of my opinion. I'll give my, I gather from your comments is at least if we were to go with and I probably have the terminology wrong, but go with the landscaping first and on a bid basis on that area. And then at the same time, have an alternate bid based upon the sidewalk being built separately. And to go forward with those with the anticipation that we would get funding from the county to build the sidewalk. Is that summary of what we heard?
Yeah.
Can I just add one thing? What Sean is talking about is a bid alternate. So what he's suggesting is you include the sidewalk when you send it out to bid, but you hold the sidewalk as an alternate. And so when you get ready to award the contract, you can decide to award the base bid, which would be no additional sidewalk, or you could add that bid alternate in if you want to fold it all together. So that gives you, that keeps all of your options open.
My personal point would be to do the bid. I mean, if we let this thing slip, it's gonna be, years to get it done. And I just say that to bid the project with an alternate for the sidewalk. I think that you think the sidewalk is critical, though. I think it's for the safety reasons as well as just to have the landscaping done and have a big muddy path down the side of it. Doesn't strike me as being particularly attractive to doing it. That's my personal thing. Other comments, Patrick?
Just to clarify, I believe you mentioned, that there was funding potentially from the ADA commission and that there needs a meeting on the 2nd next month.
Yes.
Possibly someone representing, whether it's him or someone else representing us to find out, because it sounds like that's where the funding would come from, if there's gonna be funding from the county, if that's correct.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Yeah, so that's happening soon, we should.
Well, is it Sean?
Sean,
Could Sean, if I understood, he could attend that meeting and he could represent us
yes, he could.
and with our support, say, yeah, we support it. We support funding and ask the ADA, whatever the organization is, to provide funding for it.
Would this,
Hang on just a second. Is that,
No, that's exactly what I was stating, and it sounds like it's coming up soon. I think that the sidewalk, we've all reiterated this, that it's absolutely important, and it seems like a, county responsibility, and if this allows both us and them to get what we both want and need in this way, I think it's 100%. I don't see the cost falling on the district making any sense, right? $100,000, right? And that's just a portion of what needs to eventually happen on these different roads, right? We all know that the sidewalks don't connect still. So, knowing that it's not a priority for the county in general, if the ADA commission has funding, I don't know if they would be able to in one meeting give a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah.
Those meetings can drag on and decisions can take months and months to be made, and we have to move forward. So I also agree with the alternate having the option. Yeah, I'd like to keep the pressure on whomever, group in the county that would be, funding it so that we don't find ourselves, in a situation where we're funding the sidewalk.
well, my understanding is the county is gonna be funding the sidewalk, whether it's ADA compliant or not. So to me, that's a county issue between the county and the Disabilities Commission. But my other thought, the sooner we do this, the less it's gonna cost. One of the things that we've seen happen if we don't do things right away, the number of hearings is doubles annually. And so right now we got a cost, which I think is exorbitant, but that's gonna be a hell of a deal compared to what it's gonna be if we continue to push it forward.
I agree with Patrick that the district should not be funding that sidewalk.
well, there's nothing that we recommended that, or that says that we would fund it. We're looking for the county to fund it. Yeah. Okay. Do we have enough to move forward?
Yes, I think what I'm seeing is heads nodding as to the recommended next step.
Yeah.
And then one hand raised if there too.
Oh, we do have a hand raised in the Zoom room.
Excuse
We
me?
have a hand up in the Zoom room.
Sid,
A
Hi.
public comment.
I
Yeah.
can't see it.
I was just gonna say, I attended almost every one of those damn Connect the Coast Side things, and they still haven't funded it, so you probably won't get any money out of them based on Connect the Coast Side, but you could ask Supervisor Mueller for Measure K money, because I attend almost every single Board of Supervisors meeting, and they always are giving out Measure K money for pet projects here, there, and everywhere throughout the county. And of course, the coast side usually doesn't have its hand out, so they hardly ever give us anything. But I would definitely go back to Supervisor Mueller and ask him if you could get Measure K money based on that you're voluntarily offering to put in a sidewalk that's ADA compliant. And let me just ask a question. The inside the garden, is that also ADA ramps?
The garden path itself is not an ADA path to travel. No, you're talking about the decomposed granite.
Trying to slalom back and up and down the hill, so I wasn't really sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's not. But however, the landings at the top and the bottom are ADA, have been designed to be ADA accessible, as is the bench.
That's nice.
Yeah, and of course the sidewalk would be.
Yeah, I mean, Connect the Coast Side, they're putting in a 71 unit complex, which you probably all know about, right near the new fire station in Moss Beach, and they haven't even got the highway improvement money until 2030. And you're talking about along Surfers Beach, that's all Caltrans. So I would definitely try to get some Measure K money, and like you say, if it's optional and they are not going to fund it, then just don't build the sidewalk. Anyway, it looks nice. I like your design. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid. Okay, do we know where we're going forward with this? All right, we're gonna move forward with it. We're looking for the county to pay it. We're gonna have an alternate bidding system to do it, all right? And we're gonna move now.
Thank you very much.
And Sean's gonna represent it.
Yes, oh yes, at the ADA, whatever that meeting.
Yeah, I will, if the chief wants, I'd be happy to attend. I mean, it's already in my calendar. If I could represent staff and give a brief presentation, and that would include a funding request on the district's behalf.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, great.
Great, thank you all. Good to see you.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, very good. All right, moving on, weed abatement.
All right, bringing this back, this is on the agenda again this month. This is your opportunity to open the public hearing on this item. And then after hearing any objections from the public, will be the resolution is before you to continue with the or direct staff to continue with the process as we have in the past.
The public, open a public hearing, and any members of the public would like to speak again, you have an opportunity to do so. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, and first of all, do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2024-13?
So moved.
Second, moved and seconded, all right, discussion. Okay, we've gone through this multiple times, any comments, chief? No. Again, we're well into it for this year, and then we'll take a look at what the future might bring to us.
Well, I'd say one comment, I have in my packet, there's a staff report to reject all the bids for performing weed abatement work for the district. Authorize the rebidding of this work.
We've passed that in the consent calendar. Yeah, it's kind of screwy, it's in the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Any comments at all? Roll call, please, Jean.
Director Cockrell?
Yes.
Director Hannah?
Yes.
Director McKinney?
Yes.
Director Cheryl?
Yes.
President Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, review, discuss, and adopt a resolution of the 2024-11 approving the increase of 0.5 battalion chief position to existing CAL FIRE contract. Chief?
Thank you, President Burke. You do have the staff report in front of you with some graphics and so forth. I'll try to provide a little background on this. We are currently in year 5 of a 7-year contract between COSIDE and CAL FIRE for cooperative services. At the beginning of the contract, we couldn't have foreseen that in 2022, the labor union that represents the rank and file firefighters negotiated a new contract decreasing the work week come end of 2024, closer to industry standards. So what comes out of that is traditionally you've been able to cover both or basically the whole week of battalion chief coverage here in the district with 2.5 battalion chiefs, because we shared 1 battalion chief with San Mateo County Fire. They have since fully funded, San Mateo County Fire has fully funded a battalion chief position in recognition of this coming work week change. So we do need to eventually add a 0.5 of a battalion chief. Right now would be the opportune time to meet the time frame of that contract negotiation. Due to the length of the current contract that we're in and the consistent cost savings of 15 to 20% a year, this won't change the total contract amount at all. We'll still be significantly below the not to exceed amount, but it would increase the budget next year for by approximately $150,000 in personnel costs. Like I say, that'll still be under the not to exceed. and I'm happy to answer. Oh, one final piece on that is that, your, regular fire engine staffing is already at the levels that we need it to be because this board has graciously, increased that staffing over the last couple of years. So we're already there and we're in good shape for that, but just looking to add the touch.
Thank you, Chief. Comments, questions?
Quickly, Chief, is there, because this is a little bit scheduled out, right, over time, there's gonna, the work week hours gonna continue to go down a little bit further in another year or two, and
Yeah,
there's a
that-
schedule of another point.
Correct.
What does that briefly look like over the next couple of years? Or is it increasing, is there, another half?
Oh, like another, oh, no,
Yeah, no,
this is
this covers us for a period of time,
correct.
Okay.
For the operational battalion chiefs, this gets
Yeah.
us exactly where we need
so
to
it's
be.
not like next year we're gonna need another. So this is like getting us where we're at for the foreseeable future.
Correct. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, just, first of all, I'm certainly not opposed to supporting it, but just out of curiosity, I look back in the Schedule A, I think it was 2022-23, and this is just information, the question, but at that time, what we were being charged was 2 full-time battalion chiefs and 2 half-time battalion chiefs. And if I vaguely remember, I think it was Scott that was there was some reason because it was the Cal Fire's advantage to move people back and forth between here and the county rather than having one here. And maybe you don't know the answer to that, it's immaterial, but at that time, we were paying for 3 full-time, but it was chopped up into 2 halves.
Yeah, correct. You were
Yeah.
until, so what you were paying for was the 2 operational battalion chiefs. They were different people at the time, but today that's Chief Pickard and Chief Hibden.
Yeah.
And then half of the fire marshal, which is, Chief Griffin, and then half of that relief battalion chief that we shared.
Yeah.
And that was really to the benefit of both Coastside and San Mateo County Fire to be able to have half the cost and full coverage. So they've since, San Mateo County has since covered that full share, leaving basically a half hanging here.
Just as another education question for me, the new contract goes to 66 hour work week. You know, down from 72,
Correct.
correct? And at that time, it was described as 3 on, 4 off. So what does 66 hours represent?
You know, that's a very interesting question. What it is it's an average of 66 hours per week in a 28-day Fair Labor Standards Act period.
Yeah.
So it's an average. From everything that we're seeing, the firefighters would still work essentially the exact same schedule, except 1 week a month, they would have an additional day off. That is instead of 12 days a month, it's 11 days a month. This is working towards the industry standard of the 56-hour work week, which all your surrounding fire departments are on. And that would be defined, that would drop 1 additional day of work per month for each of the firefighters, but that's 5+ years out.
This, again, I'm certainly not opposed to this, but this is going to have a financial impact on the district in the future years. After this goes into effect.
For the future years, like I said, we actually have the number of staff that we need for the full conversion of that schedule. Just if it works out mathematically, basically the way that we are right now, there's some days of extra personnel that help to cover vacation and training and support.
Comments? We have a motion to approve resolution 2024-11.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further comments? Roll call, please, Gene.
Director Cockrell?
Yes.
Director Hannah?
Yes.
Director McKinney?
Yes.
Director Cheryl? Yes. President Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Moving on to the board of directors and chief report, the finance committee, we did not have a finance committee meeting, but the spreadsheet showing all our expenses are available to the public and is in the packet. I'll just make a couple of observations. JB, you may have some. San Mateo County balance, operation balance, or fund balance is $7 million, and remains strong. In Lake, we have $15 million. Most of that is reserved for the building of new Station 44. We have a new item in here. We now have voted to put money aside in Cal class as an alternative, and you'll notice on the sheet that there isn't the $1.5 million that we voted to put in that is so directed. PAS is at $3.9 million for the healthcare of our former employees. Year-to-date revenue is 71% of budget, $15.5 million. Our expenses are 37%, but that's a budget. That's what it amounts to. Station 44 expenses year-to-date is $275,000 out of a $1.5 million dollars, and we're waiting information from CalPERS regarding our possible purchase or buyout of the miscellaneous employees healthcare from CalPERS. Just overall, any or anything else? Any other questions? No question. Moving on. Volunteer Committee, Director Corporal, put the hand up.
Well, meetings, I don't have a report,
No,
other than the fact that we had the crab feed, which I believe
successful crab feed.
we were all there.
Yeah.
Oh, this-
Well, the gentleman on the engine today went down to the last baseball game of the season, I believe, for the little league that is also supported by the Half Moon Bay Volunteer Organization. So they're there showing us.
So, point of information, how did Firehouse 9 do? Did Firehouse 9 win?
Firehouse Nine.
Well, that's the name of the team. Volunteers.
The game is now, I believe.
Oh,
So I couldn't tell you that.
Okay. Land and Structures Committee, Director McKinney, Director Sherrill.
Yeah, we
Chief
can speak on
Silva.
that. So on the Station 44 project, they resubmitted to the county for the second resubmittal. So basically they made all the changes that they felt were necessary, and then obviously asked for some exemptions on a few things with the encroachments or the setback requirements and a few little items that they were trying to work with the county and the planning building department on. So that was submitted, I believe, on March 25th. So we've yet to hear back on that second submittal as of yet. So there has been no meetings. I've talked with Austin obviously regularly to see if there's any updates or anything, and still have no updates from the county. So we're still waiting for approval to proceed from the county. So as soon as we hear something, we'll be able to hopefully present something to the board that you guys want to hear.
And we still have a community meeting to be scheduled.
Yeah, so our plan is there's really not, we can't, there's anything to the community until the county gives us the stamp of approval to move forward with the project, you know, at the level where they approve it. And so as soon as we have that, we'll schedule that meeting and let the community up there see what our final project will be.
And we do have a meeting scheduled for the second.
The second for, what's that?
You had mentioned, perhaps I misunderstood, but I thought that,
Oh,
Austin was
with,
going to-
yes, so, okay, now I'm on the same page. So, the fire marshal had been helping us get in contact with the building official. Well, we actually have a new building official, but, Steve Monowitz, who runs the department that we're dealing with. And, it's been several weeks of us trying to get a hold of him, so now we finally were able to get a meeting scheduled with him, and with Sean Rose will be there as well. Sean requested it because he kind of wants to be brought up to speed and he wants to see the county process and understand why things are taking as long as they are, and hopefully be able to interject his input and knowledge into this basis and help move it along. So that meeting, I believe, is, yes, the second, so we should be proceeding with that. I think it's the 29th. I think the second was the 88 one, so I think that.
okay, so now it's the 29th.
I
Good,
believe so. I have it on my calendar.
good.
It is coming up soon, so hopefully we'll get information, and that's going to be on the 44 station, and then also on the temporary, so we're kind of trying to bring them all up to speed, but they are two separate issues. And the county's addressing them as two separate issues, so
What is the status of the temporary?
it's the same thing. We're resubmitted and all the paperwork's in. We're just waiting to hear back if they're gonna approve us moving forward with that as well.
Just for what it's worth, I did ask Supervisor Mueller, I told him we have to kind of have a temporary location in the region why and all that type of thing. And I wasn't sure what the status was, but asked if he would be available to assist us if needed.
Yeah,
He said yes.
that'd be perfect.
That's very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good to hear.
Thank you.
So everything's on a standby still, so hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have positive information to move forward with this. This definitely helped us back a few months now,
We can either wait for the groundbreaking.
right?
Okay.
And also just tangentially, it doesn't have anything to do with this, but, our architect has been hired to do Station 59 for the county.
Yes.
Oh,
PBK Architects is doing the relocation of Station 59 from near the ocean up to Cascara High School.
oh,
And they will reinstall water lines this time that allow the high school to have fresh water for the first time in decades.
Yeah, they're using porta potties and bottled water at the high school. Yes, I'm involved in that project as well, so.
Oh, there you
I've
go.
Now I have numerous meetings with PBK on 2 different projects.
only for about 2 more weeks.
Yeah, there you go.
Vegetation Management Committee, Director Cockrell, Director Hannah.
No report.
The only comment would be the Quarry Park, and that's county and kind of out of our hands as it is.
Special District Association, Director, California Special District Association.
Yes, thank you, President Burke. Would have been included now in the email list for the San Mateo chapter. I have not attended my first meeting yet. There was one last week, but I wasn't unable to attend that one. But moving forward, especially with the discussions we've had today about being more involved potentially in legislation,
Great.
I'm sure it'll help us
Great.
advise for these items. So next month,
Great.
attend a meeting. Yeah. Thank you.
Very good. Good. ALSJPA, no meeting. Emergency preparedness, Chief Cosgrave.
Chief Cosgrave is on a training session all week long and unavailable for our meeting today, but he did attend the Coastside Disaster Prep Day this past Saturday, which was a very successful little event right here in Half Moon Bay. DEM was there, and it was well attended.
Great.
So he was very supportive. And the next big thing they have coming up on the coast side, this is DEM, is really a fire services event, which is on May 11th. There's going to be an evacuation drill from the top of El Granada down to El Granada Elementary School, which is right across from our site we were just discussing. So that is being led by fire services, but with an active participation by the sheriff's office and also DEM. So there's a lot of publicity going on.
That should be very interesting.
May your life be interesting, the old Chinese curse, right?
So we're gonna do it
Fire
at
marshal.
3 in the morning.
Eight in the morning.
So
We have been having a lot of meetings on preparation for that. Deputy Fire Marshal Moda has been involved with those, and he created the IEP for the action plan, and
Oh,
we plan on creating an operational component to it a little bit to kind of show, basically this will be dispatched to the top of El Granada Boulevard. The fire engine should give an on-scene report of some sort. We're gonna have an incident command post probably at the fire station. The sheriff will respond to there. The engine's gonna say, hey, we need to evacuate, X, Y, Z. Then the sheriff's department's gonna learn how to do the evacuation process, because it is fairly new to a lot of people on actually using Genesis and doing the evacuation plan. The sheriff will respond with their high-low siren. All that stuff will be in play. We don't know how many fire resources we'll actually have committed, because it is hard to commit a lot of fire engines to that level of training here. We'll probably have the volunteers and maybe some scheduled engines if we can. But if we commit all 3 of these engines, we have to have 3 engines come cover the coast. So definitely 1 engine, the battalion chiefs and volunteers, maybe a couple of the wildland engines we can involve, but it'll definitely be a great experience for everybody and good learning event.
I think it's badly needed. I think it's a great thing we're doing.
Yeah, our PIO, Cecile, she's sent out, I believe, the first on social media, and there's a lot of other information on the public, because we don't want to scare people, so we're trying to get the information out soon, so when they hear the siren, they hear this stuff. I believe there's gonna be some door-to-door flyers going out. We're trying to get all the information. We don't want to scare the public when we're doing this drill, so we'll make sure everybody's aware, and if people want to be involved, will be involved.
Perfect.
Sir, what was the date?
May 11th, 9 AM siren to circle.
And Sir El Granada, which is 356 people, has been working hard to get the word out as well.
Yes, and we were told you will have a booth there as well.
We'll post
You'll have your
it.
people, and I believe on May seventh, if I can have, we have the Wildland Fire Preparedness Week. And we will have the helicopter and the bulldozer at Quarry Park area, and then we have that event going on as well. I have reached out to El Granada Elementary School to see if, before that, if they want to bring some of the children down to observe and do kind of a show and tell. The helicopter and bulldozer are pretty cool for the kids, so they haven't got back to me on that yet, but they're definitely seeing if it's something that they could walk down, it's a short walk, and get to see some cool equipment on display for them.
Perfect.
On May 1st, there's a neighborhood meeting in El Granada. It's just their standard thing. And DEM is going to come to that and make a presentation on all of this.
Perfect. Very good. Moving on, sir, Dr. Cheryl.
CERB is also part of the Coastside Disaster Preparation Day. We had a great turnout. It was lots of fun. It wasn't huge. It was just a half a block downtown. It was just from Main to Purisima, but it was well attended. And I just want to give a special appreciation to Battalion Chief Hibden, who led the presence there. And that fire engine was there right on time, and there was other support with it, and then they got a call in to leave, and they have backup ready to go. And Chief Hibden was very personable with the public, and he had a crew of young firefighters with him who just really reached out to people, and it was very positive, very well received. And I had the opportunity to meet a gentleman who is just coming on, Captain Jesus.
Suarez, he's been with us for several years, so, Jesus was here on the coast for approximately 4 years as an engineer. Then he promoted to fire captain, he's been up at Skylonda, Station 58 for several years now, and 4 or 5 years, and then he's got a lot of years of experience in the community and obviously in this district, and, he put a transfer in to come back and was, Captain Santos retiring and gave him the opportunity.
Well, it seemed to go very smoothly.
Yeah.
And we had a real call for bilingual interaction on the day.
Oh, man.
He was stepped right in, so we appreciated that.
Bilingual better.
I told him he wasn't. Well, I understand that's a technicality of some sort, but he is fluent and he did very well.
Awesome.
And there was a young gentleman who had just joined like 4 weeks before. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but he also stepped in as bilingual translator, and we signed up several people for pure Spanish cert, which is something we haven't had before.
That's good to hear, because Joe Santos was our bilingual before, so it's good that they replaced them.
It's a very good thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then the only other thing we have is May 19th coming up is our volunteer thank you event, which will be here to thank our volunteers for the 5 years of support.
That May 19th.
May 19th, right, 200 people, great. So, again, family-friendly event. This is our 5th anniversary on the 2nd. Coastside Gives is going on right now. How could I forget? It's our primary source of operational funding, and it's going pretty well. We've raised a third of the funds that we need to raise for this year. And that's gonna be over on May 2nd. So feel free to show.
Great.
In the report.
All right, thank you, Sophia. Attorney's report.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Fire marshal's report.
I'll be delivering that in lieu of Pat Griffin not being here. We had the opportunity to send the whole office to, the statewide fire prevention officers, conference in Southern California, funded by the district, so that was much appreciated. We received some good training, some good networking capabilities. We had 100% participation from the office, and we all walked away with their, better understanding and just, updated standards of the fire service and fire prevention, so it's much appreciated to send us to that. As for the month, we upped our plan reviews to 40. Construction inspections completed, we're down a little bit, just haven't had people scheduling them, I guess projects aren't getting completed. We did have 3 special event permits issued for events in the future. They're gonna be happening, large scale events on Main Street. Business inspections are starting to be completed by the engine companies. That number 691 remain outstanding. And by the end of the year, that will be down to 0 as it is every year. Make sure we get 100% compliance on those. Mandatory inspections, those are done by our office, schools, apartments, things like that. Those are starting to get completed as well. 90 of those remain outstanding and will be completed by the end of the year. And we had 15 smoke detector inspections for the month. Great report.
Thank
And
you.
you stole my thunder on the event on the
I'm so
11th.
sorry, I didn't realize.
Mine too.
It's too.
Okay, thank you. Fire chief's report.
All right, I have that here. Do you have anything? You want me to go?
Go for it. I enjoy all
Alright,
you guys stealing the thunder.
So another part of the, something that we experienced recently was, myself and the fire marshal's office, a few attendees got to attend the WUI conference in Nevada. And I learned a lot of new updates and a lot of what's out to come and firefighting techniques and, what else, Jordan?
A lot of prevention
Lot
techniques
of
and
prevention.
community outreach.
Yes,
That's a lot of the workshops we attended were the community outreach events and, kind of organizing and keeping track of inspections and compliance. So
Yeah.
it's beneficial for us to attend these things, to be kind of on the latest and greatest on how to track and log the inspections and ensure community participation.
we kind of see what other people are doing throughout the nation, because it's kind of a nationwide thing. So we learned about, we had people presenting from New Jersey and all kinds of places.
Colorado.
Colorado, how they're doing in their communities and the outreach that they have. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're doing with El Granada right now, that type of stuff and training. So it's really good to see what other people are doing. And I think we're kind of on the same pace and doing similar type of items, which is good.
Did Ohio come up?
Yeah, there were participants from Maui, New Zealand, Australia, and Greece. We're all part of this and presenting as well.
Did you find it relevant to our situation here?
Yeah, I did. I think it's a lot of the similar type of stuff and some of their communities like us don't see that type of fire behavior, but the potential is always there with the right climate and the right changes. So it's definitely interesting to see what they thought before and what they see after. You know, they definitely have a different outlook on things now. Yeah. Okay, second part of that, we're continuing to work with legal on, Montero Water and the hydrant agreement. It's unresolved this time, working on the next step still. Recertification from CSDA for our continued district of distinction will be on next month's agenda along with a press release.
Great.
New staff service and analyst has been hired. I think you guys saw her when you came in today, Megan.
Yes.
Yeah, so she started. Chris has been doing orientation with her the last few days and, he left earlier today and he left his phone number and other stuff. And he said he may be back, he may not, depending on what she needs. So he said she's doing great and, basically trying to learn and doing the best she can to figure everything out, which I'm sure it's a hard task to step into a new job and learn things. So we're all here to support her and told her whatever she needs, we'll help her the best we can.
Is it good? Yeah. And, I have to, yes. Great choice. Thank you.
Chief Cox just talked about the outreach for the Coast Side Preparedness Day this past weekend, lots of good community engagements and that's what you talked about there. There was one serious vehicle accident, I believe it was last week, over the cliff at Graywell Cove, one fatality. Crews did a great job with the recovery and assisting and working with the sheriff's department, all of the local cooperators. Training continued, formal classes here, Station 40, that's continuously. Seems like every other week we have a good training event here. I think we have training today and the rest of this week as well, along with continued paramedic skills going on weekly here. Station 40 fencing project is pretty much complete. We're complete with B&H Builders. So I no longer have services from them. I'm finishing the project with a couple local vendors. So they finished their part exactly to what the bid was, and that's why they were the lowest bid. They did come back with multiple upcharges that they wanted to do it to the standards we needed. We saved $100,000 with that vendor, and it's very minimal for me using local contractors to do the actual finished work. So that's the route we're going. So we're completely done with them. The only thing left on that fence is we're gonna put a sensor that I observed Station 41 has. So when the fence is going backwards, if somebody were to step in that thing, it stops from going backwards as well. So all the legal requirements show going forward, the stop sensor is not smashing people, not hitting cars. I've noticed that Station 41 has one that stops from going backwards. So if a little child or somebody were to get in there, so that's gonna be installed next, and that thing's 100% in full service at that point. I did have a contractor put, is how wide it is, you'll see, I haven't put expanded metal to where people can't get between the fences either. So we observed that as a potential, area of hazard, so eliminating all the hazard and, make it safe for everybody, and it'll be working functionally full service here shortly. The insulation project, I don't know where that's at, I believe it's, in the process of being started here, in the Ave. I know that all the paperwork, I believe, has been finalized on that,
I
correct?
think so.
And then the bathroom project, I do know, I talked to the contractor today, they're gonna start, within 2 weeks. He's got all the stuff ready and, he's well aware there's gonna be one bathroom at a time. There might be a time where he goes in there shortly for both, like if he's doing the tile, he might tell the guys, hey, I'm gonna rip out all this tile, and then rip out this tile, so this bathroom's free, just so he can be efficient with his crews. The South Loft project, obviously, we've just, been updated on that from Sean. And then apparatus, tools and equipment, engine 340 is still being built right now. And engine 44 is in the lineup to be built. As of grants, there's nothing to report and no other new business.
Thank you, chief.
I have a question. With, I can see the accident of the slide from my house.
Yeah,
Was the drone used?
I'm not sure if the drone was.
Yeah, Tyler Stern went with the drone.
Who was it? Thank you.
Chief Armstrong?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Yeah. Any members of the board?
There's a Zoom.
Sid, did you have something to question?
Yeah. It's two questions. One, MCC, Ray Mueller came to the Midcoast Community Council meeting and was very upset with Seton Coastside because they had started remodeling and they closed down their emergency room without letting the county know. And I was just wondering if we're getting more ambulance calls because there's no emergency room. And then the other question, and also if you guys have to go and check off they didn't pull any permits for their remodel with the county. So I just wondered if you guys were asked to inspect anything over there. And then the last one is, I went last night to I did it on Zoom. God, it lasted till midnight, but it was the Planning Commission in Half Moon Bay, and somebody brought up a question about whether 555 Kelly, if you guys had an apparatus tall enough to accommodate a fire in a 5-unit residential building. And I thought you did because of the Ritz, but for my own curiosity, I'd like to know.
So I can address 2 of those for you, if you'll allow me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as far as the height of the building, I had the crew at Station 41 where Quinton 41 is housed. Because every ladder truck is different as far as its reach capability. At a 45-degree angle, Quinton 41 will reach a height of 70 feet and 6 inches. And the proposed height of that building is only 59 feet, so we're covered there. And then as far as the pulling permits for the hospital, counties and the local fire jurisdiction don't oversee projects at hospital, that's handled at the state level. So it makes sense that they wouldn't have pulled county permits for the work being done at the hospital. It's all overseen by the state fire marshal.
Okay, and then you haven't noticed any extra increase in emergency ambulance calls? Okay.
We've not seen any additional calls for service.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Matter of curiosity. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Sid. The only, or just the board, information that, the, old 41 contract with the county is still pending, as it's been for some time, and hopefully we'll see it the next month, but I've been saying that for a couple of months, but hopefully we'll see it next month. And that's all I have. Anything else? Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.